who did build the ruins. Okay. And is it dangerous out here? It says there's concern in his tone, but he does not elaborate. What kind of weather do they have out here? And that's we'll hear more about the Beowick in a bit, but that's something cool that's like specific to this is like spirit wind. It'll literally rip your soul out of you if you're stuck in it. And what are these huge rods?
The Soul Butchers in Defiance Bay use it for different things. I've heard tell it can hold a man's soul, and I don't care to see it. Got enough to worry about without seeing something like that.
Okay. And how are we doing as far as sound? I want to make sure the sound. Yeah. Yeah, I think we're doing good on sound. Let me know if you can't hear it, because I do want to make sure I get the sound in there. Okay.
Hold on. Take someone with you. I know you're not some helpless tenderfoot, not like most of this lot. But you drop dead, I don't want to be looking for the body. Got a schedule to keep.
Okay, so he scans over the travelers, resting his eyes at length on a sturdy, armor-clad woman who has spent the journey's night sleeping on uneven ground without blanket or pillow. So she literally just lays on the ground. I always thought that was weird.
Kalisha. Kalisha!
Her name's Kalisha. She looks up. So she's basically like being really edgy, I guess.
He needs to find some spring berries. Watch that he doesn't drop dead.
No promises.
What kind of guide says something like that?
Kind you can afford.
Don't listen to her. You're in good hands. And I pay too well, if anything.
Yeah, and he chuckles, so it's like there's a good rapport between these two.
Theoden should have supplies. See that you're equipped before you head out. We're in harsh country. Get your berries and hurry back. And if you get so much as a tickle of wind, you drop everything and you run. Something in the air tonight. If it's a Beowick, we'll shelter in the ruins. Hut dwellers be damned.
You heard the man. Let's get going before you keel over.
Okay, so kind of to recap, these tall glass green pillars appear to have sprouted from the earth, the flickering fire, such shadows dancing. So let me just get rid of this little conversation thing. So conversations involve you, another character, and sometimes parties, like bystanders or companions you may interject. Your choices affect the story and will build a reputation for your character. And then people will hear of your reputations, good and bad, and will respond accordingly. Your attributes, skills, class, race, culture, and sex may all open up options for you in dialogue. They're not necessarily superior to the other responses, and how someone responds to your choice also depends on their individual response and personality. So yeah, we're heading to the Gilded Vale. Let me see if I can look at the map here. And this is, I think, somewhere called the Deerwood, which has its own like tumultuous history. And in a minute, we'll be able to kind of like in the game explain what we're doing here, kind of our character's backstory. And part of the backstory is the Ingwithans, who I think built these ruins and then protect them. And we shouldn't be going in there, which is this location over here, because they are very sensitive about that. But if there's a Beowick,
I'll handle this.
need 3 lockpicks. There's a Beowick which literally, again, will rip the soul right out of your body. We don't really care about not taking off, you know. So interacting, just explaining the controls. Let's take a look at our inventory. Okay, so another cool thing about Pillars of Eternity that is different from other games is any character can wear any kind of armor, like in Baldur's Gate. If you're not like a fighter, if you're a wizard, you're kind of limited to light armors and cloaks and stuff. And in this, anybody can wear anything. It just determines a penalty to their recovery speed. Like heavier armor is more protection, but it makes you slower as far as your actions in combat. So like right now we have light armor that gives us damage reduction to a 4, but it gives us a penalty to our recovery speed, so we're a bit slower. Right now we have a bow. How do we look at it? No, that's not it. Examine. Okay, so yeah, although war bows are outnumbered by hunting bows in the Deerwood, war bows are more popular among professional soldiers and adventurers with a high draw weight and respectable speed. They possess a power unmatched by magical implements and don't have the lengthy reloading times of crossbows and firearms. So yeah, we're in the Deerwood. We've got our bow, and then we've got some padded armor, which is armor consists of heavily quilted wool or linen and offers modest protection against crushing attacks. Although it cannot protect against heavy attacks, it does not slow its wearers down much. So then we've got Kalisha with scale armor, which is a little bit description of what scale armor is. And she's got just a basic battle axe, a little bit of lore there, and then this torch. Okay, now how do you... Okay, we got a... Okay, that's how you turn on fast mode. Okay. We just picked up an ingredient, Orland's Cradle. Wonder if we can look at that right now. Yeah. Named by Raid-Saran settlers who came upon the mushrooms in the forest, this thick, flat fungus grows along the base of large trees. Now there is a achievement related to crafting. I have got all.
Looking forward to trying to lift that thing tomorrow.
I have got all the achievements for like the crafting and side stuff, but we will take a look at those in future episodes. Kind of like as soon as you get like the ingredients to make those things, you can put them together.
Anyone need supplies?
Not very difficult
I've got
achievements to
sundries
grab.
for sale.
Okay, and this is Hayden. You see a man wearing simple but mostly neat clothes. He's transfixed, however, by a ragged tear in the seam of his tunic.
Brought a whole wagon full of goods to sell, but not enough shirts for the road.
Yep, shakes his head and laughs. He scratches one cheek with his knuckles. It's covered with uneven stubble, as if he hasn't quite gotten used to shaving on the road.
Say, is there anything you need? I've got some basic traveling supplies for sale if you'd like to take a look.
Okay, so who are you?
I'm a trader, originally from the Adir Empire, but I've been trying to establish new business out here. Life on the road has brought some unexpected challenges, to be sure. And I'm sure you've noticed how prickly the locals can be. But we're here to make the most of things, right?
Now we have an option to, develop our personality. I don't think this conversation, these choices really matter in the long run, but it does, like, choosing one of these options gives us kind of a point into that disposition. So if we pick this, we'll be kind of more known for being passionate. So I think we're going to just pick... this is definitely going to be a good playthrough. It's so hard for me to do evil ones. So we'll pick this one. If you think these caravanners are prickly, watch out for those axe wielders Odema mentioned. Okay. And it's going to give us a tutorial about
Something else you need? Looks like we're settled for the night.
So tell me about the Adir Empire.
It's not as big as it used to be, it's still big. The mainland is a continent northwest of here. The colonies used to include Raed Ceres and the Deerwood. About 150 years ago, Deerwood won its independence from the Empire. A fact our companions are quick to remind me of.
Okay. And again, the Deerwood is where we're at now, so we're in kind of like a like an early American colonies type situation, and it's won its independence in a war from the Adir Empire.
Because it seemed friendlier than Raed Ceres? My brothers took over the family mercantile business a few years ago, and there wasn't enough for me to do back home. I moved out to try and expand.
Okay, he shrugs. Deerwood is a former Adir colony, so it seemed like a good place to start. And as much as I admire the Raed Saren's work ethic, they always struck me as a little fanatical. Okay. So we're also probably going to go towards rational. Seems like you got the short end of the stick. And he says, I don't see it that way. And he begins restacking the crates in his wagon. My brothers and I are all working together for the sake of the family enterprise. And just some tutorials about how to buy things. I am going to buy these 3 lockpicks. Well, looks like... Oh, yeah, I can. I can trade this. So I have 3 lockpicks. Okay, it says you now have 1 rank in a disposition reputation. Like I said during the conversation, they represent how people perceive your personality. Even nasty reputations will be favored by some, and benign reputations can bring out the worst in others. So if we go into our character sheet, I think it will reflect that somewhere. Where is Crane reputations? There's the crafting. Maybe that didn't give us any specific ones. Okay, and now we can go back over here and lockpick this.
I'll have this open in no time. It's done.
Gives experience, and we got a potion of minor endurance. It says this vibrant purple potion has an equally apparent effect. For imbibing it immediately grants a rush of energy, restoring vitality and briskness to even the most haggard and wary of travelers. So we'll equip that in our potion slot. This game also had a really cool like game mechanic for how like health works. Each character, as you see that number in the corner, has an endurance. So Kalisha, I think, is a fighter. Yeah, she's a fighter, so she's going to have a little bit more endurance than me. But each character also has something called, I think it's just health. Yeah, so our health is like our long-term health. During fights, we only can use 36 endurance, and if we take the 36 endurance hits, we'll be knocked out.
With Pillars of Eternity, we strive with every level to both evoke the essence of the beloved Infinity Engine games, as well as introduce something new and engaging for players to experience in the world of Aora. The Caravan Encampment was no exception to this goal. As the introduction area and the first impression of Aora has to offer, it really needed to speak to the player from the get-go. Keeping in mind this principle, we needed to begin the game with an image that instilled simultaneously the feeling of adventure players may be familiar with from a Dungeons & Dragons setting, while introducing them to our own unique world. The idea of a caravan huddled around a flickering campfire both seemed familiar and befitting as the humble beginnings to a grand adventure. By setting the scene before a large ancient ruin with peculiar stone-like objects growing from the ground, we felt this would introduce them to some of the key landmarks of the Deerwood. Another principle in our design was non-linearity. Pillars of Eternity is a game about choice and consequence. We didn't want our introduction to feel like an entirely guided experience, so we opted to keep the flow of the level pretty open to exploration. Once the player has finished speaking with Odema, they are free to wander around the immediate area and examine their surroundings, even find clues that foreshadow their inevitable ambush, a situation that very quickly teaches the player the concept of consequence in our world.
Cool. So much to talk about. So, endurance is only you can use during battle, during a single battle, and then once the battle ends, you pull from your health pool to refill your endurance. So the more health you have, the more long-term effects you can do. But you need a high endurance to make a difference during each combat. That also, what just popped up were developer commentaries. I like having those on to kind of learn more about the game. Galicia says travelers maybe, or looters, or bandits. Bad sign any way you figure it. Found some more lockpicks and leather armor. Corpse is cold to the touch, and a ripe smell wafts from its putrid waves. A dark, crusted bloodstain besmirches simple linen clothing. Now, if I remember, yeah, we can hold the A button to make sure we don't miss anything. There's a fast mode, so we can use that to kind of speed up looking around. Okay, got another, this is a deer cap. It says, the small unassuming white mushroom is a common sight in the deer wood. Dun dun dun.
This is recent. Not good.
Footprints around the campfire are indistinct and may have been here for days or longer. Okay, found a beer. And there's also a disappointer pistol, which is like the first unique that we would have. Okay, so let's take a look. These are just minor regeneration potions. Some medium armor, which I think I'll go ahead and throw that on. We have a beer. It says, while few foreigners have much to say about the beer in the Deerwood, where locals prefer to indulge in narcotics, beer is still a staple of every inn, home, and drunken feud. And we'll probably give that to Galicia. And then we have the Disappointer. It's a unique pistol. It says the Disappointer was touted as a powerful, reliable weapon, but it was constantly failed every one of its unfortunate owners. Sound is low on the low O. You mean the game or just in general? It says this is a terrible weapon that disappoints anyone who uses it. The gun appears well made at first glance, but closer scrutiny reveals poor design and shoddy craftsmanship. Those who aren't fooled by its appearance still occasionally attempt to use it just to see if maybe the whole thing was made to look this way as an elaborate ruse, hoping that it is an artifact of extreme power crafted by a master who desired to conceal its remarkable nature. It wasn't, and it isn't. And it is a cool weapon. So we're moving it to the stash. Move that to the stash too. We'll keep looking. You can also do it in slow mode if you want to, I guess, be careful when you're like looking for different things.
Stay quiet.
And then another thing that they do is, in like Baldur's Gate, you have a search function. You can make this higher with just sneaking like this. Okay, so we found Sparfle.
I'll have your water soon enough. Stream's not going anywhere.
And then we will turn that up a little bit.
Let's check by those outcroppings.
Okay, we got some Admeth's Wart. Says this path winds through the narrow canyon. Winds back through the way you came. Grooves in the road mark the passages of hundreds of caravans. And I think we have some Burned Lady over here. So Admeth's Wart. This distinctive herb is a common sight in open fields and meadows, bearing small arrow-shaped leaves which encircle red flowers. It earned its name for its association with the final resting place of Admeth Hadret, though the particulars of the story change with each retelling. I think he's a notable person in history here. Despite their humble appearance, these small brown mushrooms are prized for their taste. Their caps are round and distinctive shape with small circular depressions dotting the surface. Okay, I think we have a first fight. We have so combat. We'll kind of talk about that as we go through. But basically, it works how you think. And we do want to combat engagement. This is basically like opportunity attacks. If you see these, yeah, right here. So these chains are the boar or the wolf here is engaged with both these characters. If the boar or the wolf attempted to move away, we would get opportunity attacks. But not too difficult of a fight. There's 3 of us and 1 of them. We have a wolf hide. It says the wolves of the Deerwood are a large and crafty breed, bereft of the species' usual shyness, and they present a serious hazard to travelers who venture off the beaten path. Hunters who seek them out will not usually contend with a single wolf, for they travel in packs of varying size, presenting a challenge to any lone hunter. Their furry hides are valued for the warmth they provide, and the teeth of the strongest wolves make for impressive trophies. So we'll just throw that in our stash for right now.
This is it.
This is our springberry. Pick them up. And we have a chat. Okay, so as the demo says, you've had some interesting travels. And we can kind of choose what we're doing. I will lived out in the frontier for a time. How is it you happen to come here? We'll go, it was just too quiet for us. Hazard of the lifestyle, I suppose. You had to expect it was a possibility, no matter how much you didn't want it to be that way. Kalisha breathes into her surroundings. It's been a long time since I've been this way, but I always did like it. Lord Raedric's offer makes a girl think. I'll give him that. You here to settle? Like the rest of the lot? No, I'm just passing through. That's usually the case with the big city, just a little ways further up the same road. Where are you headed? Let's see. So we'll probably just wander for a while. Couldn't judge you for that. Been half my life. Just watch yourself. You get too far off the beaten path. These lanes are wild in more ways than one. Anyway, I'm wasting time here. Odema will give me an earful. Let's be on our way. We can ask her for a little bit, get some more background. So, what can you tell us about the Deerwood, which is, again, the area we're in right now? It says, I'm not much for history, but from what I know, it used to be part of the Adir Empire. Broke off after a war some years back. The locals here are feisty, and that's how they like it. And Pally is spooked. He's covering his eyeballs. Been out of touch, but I've been hearing weird kind of things about it lately. People have trouble giving birth, I guess. A lot of them. Been going on for years now, but somehow it keeps getting worse. With an uneasy tremor in her voice, she adds, I'll have to ask my sister more about it. So tell me about yourself. I've got simple needs. I like open skies and far horizons. I find work that lets me live that way. My family wanders too. We started in Deerwood, but my parents end up in the living lands. I've got a brother in Rauatai and another in Adir. My sister in Gilded Vale. She's the only real homebody. So why are you here? Kalisha sighs unevenly. Her eyes search the ground at her feet. My sister moved out here some time back. She sent me a letter. She seemed worried, but that's how she always is. This time, though, she asked me to come out, and that's got me a little worried. Haven't seen her in ages. Been doing God work in Ixamiddle. Would I do anything for her? She's a much better woman than me, so I'm here and we'll see. Odema I've worked with before. He doesn't usually drive a route this way, but he's doing it for me. Right, so let's get back to camp. She said, I wouldn't hold my breath that Sparfle's getting you water anytime soon. He does what he feels like when he feels like it. We should check on him first, slap him around a little bit. Stream's just down that way. Come on, let's go get your water. And so we got quests, which is pretty stock standard. I think that, let's see, character. Is it our journal? Yeah, so we got some things here. Got a lot of encyclopedia stuff. I think this also tells us maybe about, other things like deities. Got a journal, which just updated from what we talked about with Kalisha. Got some quests here. Right now we just have Find Sparfle and Journey to the Gilded Vale, so we'll keep moving. And we got the general radial menu. We don't need to know about that. We generally know what we're doing. We do want to customize our AI behavior. Nearby enemy, okay. So we'll put him on defensive. And save. And is this per encounter? Yeah, so we always want to be using Wounding Shot. Kalisha has Knockdown, which is also a per encounter ability.
What a surprise. Sparfle went hunting. At least he left the water skins. Come on.
And so this is a new mechanic. It's a little story event vignette. It says you crouch at the riverbank and dip your water skin into the cool water while Kalisha waits nearby keeping watch. As you rise, you notice her look up sharply towards the tree line. And we get our full water skin quest item. It says, out of the trees emerges Sparfle, one of the gods, barely discernible in the dim moonlight. He no longer carries his bow, and there's a strangeness to his gait, his stride wobbly as he moves toward you with labored breath.
Sparfle, are you alright?
Kalisha frowns. Sparfle's toe catches on a rock, and he collapses forward in a heap, the feathered shaft of an arrow planted between his shoulders like an enemy flag.
Ambush!
Alright, so we got a fight. So, I don't need to know this. So we're going to have our boar. I don't think he has any abilities. Yeah, he just fights people. We're going to have our boar over here. We're going to have Kalisha knock this guy over. And we're going to wounding shot this guy. And then we're going to wounding shot this guy. So per encounter we can use every fight. And then per rest we can only be... it's limited and they only restore during rest. Pretty simple. So Kalisha's got that. And we've got that under control.
Come on, we have to get back to camp.
Okay, we have a hunting bow. And some money. Put this in the stash. I don't think I need any of that. Now, fighters in this game have a cool ability where they get constant endurance regeneration during combat. So, obviously, they're good at fighting better than other characters. Like I said before, for most characters, you only have the endurance that's listed there. But fighters regenerate their endurance. Just gonna try to knock this dude down. Gonna try to knock this dude down. Make sure to use our abilities. Try to wounding shot that guy. Whoop. Okay, and now we... Something that you always want to be doing is flanking. Because they get a debuff. And we can even go in here. What does it specifically do? Because I don't know. So when they're flanked, they get... Deflection is reduced by 10, which is basic armor. Alright. We might pick up this to give ourselves a melee option in case we get put into melee combat. I don't know how often that will be, but we have a weapon slot, so we're going to take advantage of it. So, all around you lies the massacred remains of the other travelers, peppered with arrows and knife hilts, splayed and bug-eyed and filthy. Kalisha puts the back of her left hand to her mouth as if to ward away some poisonous vapor. A handful of dark figures stands above the fallen, treading on limbs and backs of heads, jerking their axes from bodies as if from half-split logs. One of them, towering and severe with a thick beard, tasseled with knots, holds a wet blade at the neck of the man you recognize as Hayden, the last of your caravan left standing. He says, "Lay down your arms, trespasser. Do not forfeit this man's life for a fight you will lose." And then we have some different options. So we definitely want to probably use our... try to kill us either way. Okay, so again, we have lore, so we know that we haven't went in the ruins. The rune has not been sullied by our hands, men of Erglonfoth. It's a diplomatic option. Your words carry no weight when I've seen the truth with my own eyes. Blood must be paid for this intrusion. So I'll say again, lay down your arms. Hayden says, "Don't trust them. They mean to call us all." Okay. And so we're going to use our lore again. Judging by the strings of animal teeth around your neck, I'm guessing you are worshippers of Galawain. If Galawain told you to stop protecting the ruins, would you? He frowns and motions as if to swing his axe. Hayden winces, but the blow never comes. Instead, the man cocks his head, intrigued. Of course, but he would not. It is by the command of all the gods that we accept this charge. How do you know? Because it's consistent with their beliefs, or because it's what you were told? It has always been known to my people, and we interrupt him. I see, and what of Galawain's edict that weakness and age must be purged by youth and strength? You think Galawain would want some moldy, crumbling stones to survive long after their builders have turned to dust? His nostrils flare as he fumes. He would not. He told us otherwise. I'm sure he did, just not you personally. But why should that stop you from killing innocents? Distracted, the man's grip falters on his axe handle, and he nearly fumbles it, affording Hayden the moment he needs to dodge out of a swing, which comes too late. Howling with rage, the man charges you instead. So now we also have Hayden, who has Blinding Strike, and we're going to blind that dude. I also want to make mention of this debuff that we have. Active effects. It's a strange illness. It's not very notable. It's just a little atmospheric extra. We're going to do that. Wounding shot the guy. We're going to have our melee fighters move up. And she is going to knock down this dude. And then we're going to have her knock down this dude as well. And then, okay, so we already used both wounding shots. And we are destroying these people. Your enemy lies supine on the ground, unable to rise. His companions now silent among the other dead. His breath comes in wheezing, fitful gasps. He looks not at you, but at the sky above. Forgive us. Barely audible beneath his choked sighs, a whisper of wind stirs the air. At this, the man's eyes roll back as he closes them. Good, good. The gods are just. A queer smile crosses his face. I am ready. The wind begins to swell, whipping around the camp, electric and volatile, upending pots and rattling tents like an angry spirit. You can feel it begin to seep beneath your skin, and where it pierces you, it feels as though it is rending you apart from within. Seated against the wagon wheel amidst the howling maelstrom, slashed across chest and bowel, Odima's body stirs, and with great effort he raises his sagging head. His eyes barely open. He looks directly at you.
Get inside! Run!
And this would be a Beowak. Or a Beowick. However you want to pronounce the word. Straining against the gale that threatens to pull you off your feet with every step, you set your hands in the warm folds of weathered rock and set about pulling yourself up the precipice. With a last burst of energy before your arms give out, you swing yourself up onto the ledge. But Hayden trails behind, slowed by injury and delayed by early hesitation. As he nears the face of the rocks, one of the fallen attackers who had been feigning death lunges for Hayden and topples him onto the rocky ground. Restrained, Hayden lashes out against his fatigued assailant, but struggles to break his hold. They are close to you. From your position, you would have a good chance of hitting the mark. We're just going to fire. Your aim is true, and the hit jars Hayden loose. Lurching to his feet, Hayden clambers up the base of the rocks, and as he nears the top, however, the wind flares, pulling him sideways and tearing one of his hands free. But diving out onto the hard rock, you manage to catch hold of it. Securing his other hand, you pull with waning strength, and it feels as though your arms will be jerked from their sockets. They hold just long enough for Hayden to set his feet and join you on the trembling ledge. There's a deep resonance to the swelling wind now. You feel it in the rocks beneath your feet and inside the cavity of your own chest, as though it would shake the marrow from your bones. Each new gust menaces the old stones before you, loosening connections, unsettling balances. As you dart beneath the old archway, the entire portal begins to fall beneath its own weight. So now we're stuck.
Was that?
A Beowick. Had to be.
Then we're lucky to be alive.
And we're the only ones.
We can't stay here. There could be another collapse. We're not getting out that way anyway. Let's get further inside.
Cool. So now we want to set up our formation for sure. So I think we're going to put our melees up front. Okay, it says the lower level of the ruins has been blocked off by fallen rubble. We'll just put our boar in the middle there.
That should be far enough. But what now?
We look for another way out. Storm has to die sometime.
Okay, who was that that attacked us? Glonfothans. Those would be the hut dwellers Odema warned you about. Looks to be Fangs of Galawain, her the twitchiest of the lot. They go rune to rune, looking for fights with colonists. Poor Odema. I think he half expected this once we lost the main road. So what happened? It was a windstorm, shaking her head, of a kind they only get in Air Glonfoth. Not too many people live through them, so it's hard to know what's true. The Glonfothan word is Beowick. To them, it's the gods' way of reaping the souls of the land that couldn't find their own way out. They'll take a living soul as soon as a dead one. Have you still got yours? What about everyone else? She presses her lips together and her chin rumples. Her voice is faint. The wheels got hold of them now. Gods grant them better luck in their next lives. Glenfathan said we trespassed in the ruins. I don't believe that. Odema would never allow it, but as much as the Fangs are hotheads, Glonfathans don't attack without being provoked. Either they saw something and got the wrong idea, or she glanced down the passage beyond, or there's looters in here with us. That's not something we need right now. And she doesn't seem too upset. She says, maybe you just don't know me enough to know what upset looks like. And she has a look in her eyes, a volatile current running underneath her voice. Maybe I've seen worse too, seen worse and kept on walking. Because there's nothing else to be done, and because there's other people you care about who still need you. So let's just get going.
Someone else has been here. We should move.
See if they left anything useful behind.
Okay, so we got some things here. We got a mace, which I don't think we need. We got some camping supplies, which we'll need to rest. And we got a hammer and chisel, which is a useful item. So we got camping supplies. We need those to rest when we're not like at an inn or somewhere that we can rest. A small shield, a torch. Okay, and I think we might cut this episode right here. And pick up on it another day. So just bear with me. If you're watching on YouTube, just know that I do stream on Tuesdays and Saturdays right now. You can catch, sometimes I play Diablo, sometimes I play something else. I guess a variety streamer, but I'm sticking to a few things at a time. So if you like the video, be sure to hit the thumbs up. Maybe subscribe to catch more of this content. Okay, now I don't think I want to be streaming for another 45 to 50 minutes of an episode, so I think I might save and then just play a little bit of Diablo, just putting in the hours. And we can turn the volume down a little bit on the game. See what the terror zone is. Ancient tunnels. And it is 11:16, so we should have that for a good bit. Oh, and then we had that lum, which needs a flawed emerald. Oh no, it's not one of these. It's one of these. All right, ancient tunnels. That's not a bad one. As you can see, we did make it to 94. Awesome. But we do still have 5 levels to go, which will take some time. But all that experience you see in the bar there, I got just in 1 hour, I think. So that's a good sign. I think this is, yeah. Oh, ancient tunnels is this way.